What's up, Rally Race fans? We are back at Rainier Rally for the next round of ridiculous racing. This week, I hope more cars keep it on the track and less spectators are injured. Let's go ahead and take a look at our bracket. Here are the 8 cars that have moved on from the first round. All 8 will race in this video, and only 4 will be moving on to the next round. Let's go ahead and meet the drivers that are going to be racing right now. First, we have Lucas from EP Videos in that Ford Focus, number 20. He'll be racing Lone Star from Live Young Die Cask in a Nevo. Fancy zoom out, and they're off. Lone Star out front by a car. As they go over the first jump, Lucas starts to gain ground on him, but does not come back, not fast enough. You see Lone Star hit some bumps there. Photo finish, side by side. Lone Star upside down. This is a best of 5 for those of you who are new around here. So the first one to win 3 races, they alternate lanes each race. Evo, Lone Star in the close lane. EP Videos, Lucas in the far lane. Lone Star cuts off Lucas right before that second jump and takes race number 2. 2 for Lone Star, 0 for number 20, EP Videos, Lucas. Third race, Lucas close to us. Lone Star out front by a tire. Lone Star cuts to the left instead of the right this time and cuts off Lucas again. And there they are going across the finish line. We freeze frame it so you can see how close that race was. Lone Star moves on. EP Videos, Lucas, thank you for competing. Let's meet our next 2 drivers. First, we got Grey Wizard from Golden Owl Racing in an Evo. And then we have Daddy G from G4 Diecast Racing. Grey Wizard in the close lane. Daddy G in the far lane in that Audi Sport Quattro. Grey Wizard out front by a fender. Daddy G comes back from behind and takes the win in race 1. Let's watch this slow down. Daddy G is behind on the first jump and ahead by half a car in the second jump. Cuts off Grey Wizard and takes race 1. There you see a scoreboard with Daddy G with 1 point and Grey Wizard with 0. They'll switch lanes and we're going. Same result in the beginning of the race. Grey Wizard out front. This time he decides to cut off Daddy G and take race 2. We watch the finish line here. Grey Wizard backwards, laughing in the face of Daddy G, says, "You can't touch this. You would never get this." All right, switch lanes and let's run them again. Grey Wizard in the close lane. He takes the early lead over the first stump. Daddy G comes back and I think was able to take that race at the last second. Let's watch it in slower motion here. Slower motion. And yes, freeze frame at the finish line. Daddy G wins it by a fender plus a half of a wheel. Or 3 feet. And you still see the camera guy and the guy in the brown sweater at the finish line. They haven't moved. They're still in danger. Okay, Daddy G 2 races. If Daddy G wins this one, he will move on. What will Grey Wizard do? Wizzy, 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 can you win? He does. He decides to cut off Daddy G and take the win. Let's watch it from the finish line sky cam. By the car length, Daddy G comes in right behind. And it will go to a 5th and final race. Here they go. Grey Wizard in the close lane, Daddy G in the far lane. Who will take this final race? They are side by side as they go into the first jump, side by side as they go into the second jump, and I could not tell from this camera angle who won this race. We're going to slow it down in mega, ultra slow motion and show you the freeze frame to see if we can tell who won this race. Daddy G on his hood. Oh my gosh, I don't know. Let's check the finish line cam and see if we can tell from that angle. They're side by side. I will say dead nuts again. And we just heard from the judges that was a tie. Both camera angles, we could not tell a winner. We will keep them in the same lanes and run that race again. This winner takes it all and moves on. Grey Wizard out front and Grey Wizard by a car and a half. Congratulations, Daddy G. You sure put up a fight, but those dang Evos are so quick. Grey Wizard moving on. Now we have Dotson Dan in that beautiful Porsche 959 Laffy Taffy. against Big John Alexander from Spoolheads Racing in an Audi Sport Quattro. Dotson Dan in the close lane. John Alexander in the far lane. They're out of there. Dotson Dan out front, cuts off John Alexander, and takes race 1. Porsche Power. I don't think that's a thing. Porsche Power. Yeah, it's definitely not a thing. But he did take number 1, race 1, and they rotate lanes, and we'll run him again. John Alexander in the close lane this time. Big John out front. Dotson Dan spins around backwards. It looks like he got a boost while in the air and bounces off that Jersey barrier. No track damage. Somehow he kept it on the track and finished after that jarring crash landing. John Alexander takes that point and they rotate lanes, and here they go. John Alexander pushes Dotson Dan off the track in that midsection in between jumps 1 and 2. Look at that aggressive driving from John Alexander in a beautiful landing. A flawless run for John, other than the rubbing. But rubbing is racing. And also, if there isn't blood, there isn't a foul. But there's no fouls in racing, so keep rubbing. John Alexander out front again in the last race here. They bounce off of each other, and John Alexander upside down and backwards finishes in first place and moves on to the next round. Congratulations, John. Dotson Dan, I love your Porsche. Next group, Uncle Elvis from Uncle Elvis Racing in, you guessed it, another Evo. He's racing Sarah Moy from Arlo Racing and Bosami.com in another Audi Sport Quattro. That's a popular casting. I mean car. These aren't castings. These are real cars with real drivers, and this is an announcer with real emotions. All right, first race, it looks like Sarah Moy flips over and crosses the finish line in first to take race 1 against Uncle Elvis. Atta girl, Sarah. All right, they switch lanes, and we'll run it again in race 2. Uncle Elvis out to an early start. Can Sarah come back? Sarah skids sideways, flips upside down, is able to keep it on the track, but loses race 2. That was a gnarly roof slide across the finish line. Tied up, 1 race to 1 race. Uncle Elvis in the close lane. I have to say that it is a very beautiful color. Red Bull should consider putting that color on their cans. Uncle Elvis cuts off Sarah and takes the victory. He has 2 wins now, 1 more victory, and he will move on to the next round. Sarah in the close lane. Uncle Elvis with a quick early jump and is able to hold it out and take the win against Sarah Moy, and Uncle Elvis will move on to the next round. Thank you, Sarah, for competing in this race. It's always a pleasure having you at our track. Let's have a look at those 4 cars moving on. Evo, Audi Sport Quattro, and another Evo. Again, I'm Nick. Thank you for watching Tiny Track Cars. Goodbye.